Hi, everyone, and welcome to our side episode, review episode of The Wayward Dragons. I am, I'm something. I'm Johnny. I am one of the two co hosts here. In this episode, we talk about all of our reviews of what we've been reading, watching, playing, so on and so forth. And then if you listen to last week's episode or next week's episode, those are on actual topics of like metaphysics and true crime or, the occult or some kind of zaniness like that. I also have a co-host.
I'm Kelsey, and welcome to this side episode. I have not read anything. I've been reading stuff, but I have not completed anything. Do you want to talk about your Netflix?
Oh, I have so much to talk about.
Do you want to?
So,
I know you're dying to
so,
talk about
so
that.
I'll get the easy part out of the way first. So
Okay.
I read The Golem and the Jinn by Helen Wecker. I'm actually in the middle of the second book. It's a 2-book thing.
2-book series.
Duology. I don't know what the actual proper term for 2 books is. It was recommended to me. It's a slow burn.
Oh.
It felt like yes, there was stuff going on in the book, but it felt like a lot of it was just. I mean, of course, all books, the whole book is to set up the ending of the story, but I don't know. This just seemed like there was a lot more of a setup, and it was like, oh, we're introducing these characters, and we're slowly building on this, and slowly building on this. And it's like a fantasy romance book, not like a super sexy fantasy romance like you like so much. So basically, the premise of the book is that there is a djinn,
Yeah.
and there's a golem, and they meet each other in New York City in the 1800s, and their stories are way more interlinked than they think, and they kind of fall in love. There's like a whole weird thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not a bad read. I want to finish the second book before I give a real overview of the whole thing, but it's enjoyable. It does give some interesting lore into both Jin and Golem, which is pretty cool because those are two things that typically you'll see them in. Like it's legitimate lore.
Okay.
From like the mythology of the different cultures they're from. But a lot of times
Okay.
you'll see it and you'll be like, oh, hey, this is a Jinni, or hey, this is a Golem, and they tell you that basically the same story over and over again, and it's very like cut and dry. So I will say that about it. It is a little refreshing that they took archetypal characters or types of characters and molded a new story with them.
Okay.
So that being said, I'm getting into the fun thing now. So by the time this comes out, they will have already determined whether they are doing a second season for sure.
It's the
Current,
current, but she's stuck right there.
Gotcha. So currently, they do have the script for season 2 written.
Okay.
The first season surpassed every other TV show for views in like the opening weekend, but Netflix said they're going to take it and see what viewership's like over the next couple weeks. So if you haven't watched this, or if if you have, hey, rewatch it, guys. Of course, the show I'm talking about is the live action One Piece series on Netflix.
Yeah.
Uh, I've been a fan of the anime and the manga since the early 2000s, like 2001, 2002. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, when it first, like, they started showing it on Cartoon Network, and I watched it there for a while back when 4Kids dubbed it, and then when I got the chance later on, when Toei Entertainment started dubbing it, I started watching that, and I've been watching it since. Uh, so, of course, I say watch the anime, read the manga, but this show absolutely amazing. People who are not fans of it have actually been like or fans of anime have been watching it because it's it's that good. The
Yeah.
art design that they do, the costuming design, it's so on point with the anime and the manga. The amount of money they spent, the detail and care they put into it is amazing. The creator of the manga, who he started creating this and like did the first pitch for it uh, in 1997, and he was like 17 at the time. And so this has been like a lifelong thing he's been working on. Uh, and he's like, there's stuff in the earlier seasons of the series that, of course, is getting revealed now that was referenced then. Because yes, this is still going on. It is well over 1,000 episodes in the manga or in
Yeah.
the anime, but it was really cool what they did, and I was a little iffy on how they were going to do this because they crammed 83 episodes, which is approximately 22 hours, into 8 episodes, which turned out to be about 8 hours. But they did it so perfectly. Like, there's minor characters that aren't in there, of course,
Yeah.
to save time and money. But everything else they did so perfectly. There were slight tweaks, of course, to the story, but it's I have no notes. Like, it was so good. The acting is on point. The creator himself was uh, involved with everything, with casting, with art design assistants, with he forced Netflix to do reshoots until he was happy with it. And
You
this is
go,
his
sir.
baby. Yeah, this is like that they there was a review on it that said that because anyone who's ever done a live action adaptation of any kind of anime,
Yeah.
uh, it's bombed. Let's just say that. Like, there's some that are okay, but it's bombed. They have not done good. This broke the curse of that, and it's I can't tell you how how actually pleased I am. Um, First off, let's say this: clowns should not be sexy. Clowns should not be sexy.
Okay.
Uh, the individual, and I'm pulling up his name now because I don't remember off the top of my head, but he is a very pretty man, and they have him playing Buggy the Clown, which is he's a pirate,
Okay.
Jeff Ward, and he does it in such a way that it's I don't know, like the makeup design and his acting, it's absolutely phenomenal. And there's so many people that are like basically fangirling over this guy, and I'm gonna send you a picture of of him right now so you can see. But have you you guys have Netflix, right?
Yeah.
So you should definitely watch this. And if you have any questions, of course, I will answer all the questions and then some.
I mean, he's terrifying looking, but
But like in a weird, sexy way.
I can see where he can be perceived that way
Yeah,
because we're like clown pirate kind of thing.
that's exactly what he is. And then the main cast, of course. One of the things I love about it is that Oda was asked a question at one point where everyone would be from the real world, like from our world, if they were from here.
Yeah.
And they did casting according to that.
Okay.
So, like, the main character, Monkey D. Luffy, he said that he would be Brazilian. They have a Latino man playing the role.
Okay.
There's one of the characters, when asked, he said he would be from Africa, and they actually have a black man playing the role.
Okay.
One of the characters, he's the chef, and of course he's French. And the guy they have playing the role actually speaks French in the series, like in the live action. The character himself is like, his fighting style is basically kicking the shit out of people.
Okay.
Partly because he was taught that a chef does not use his hands for anything but caring for food.
Okay. I mean,
So when he fights, he just kicks people. So he'll actually like have his hands in his pockets while he's fighting. He took classes. So this man took classes for kickboxing to like learn how to do this like properly, and to the point where he loved it so much he actually does it as a hobby now. He took classes on how to be a professional chef to make sure he was properly doing everything as a chef correctly. And not even that, he actually cooked for the crew behind the scenes in costume to help him better connect with the character. And like the main cast, they're all super fans of the series and everything else.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. The guy that plays Luffy, there was an interview that he did, and he actually got to meet Oda. And of course, fun fact: Oda is a very private man,
Yeah.
and there's actually not a lot of pictures of him out online.
Yeah.
He's never done an interview where he's shown his face.
Yeah.
So you could literally walk by this man on the street any day and you would not know who he is.
Yeah.
But, so, you didn't see his face in the interview, but he was talking to the actor, and, he was just like, when I saw your video, when I saw, your audition video, as soon as I saw you, I knew this is Luffy. You are exactly the person that I had in my mind when I drew him.
Yeah.
And when I came up with the idea.
That's cool.
But anyways, I can keep talking about this forever. And you're just like, yep. Sorry, this is a huge, this is probably one of my,
It's one of your favorite things.
Yes, it is. I would say it's up there with Discworld.
Yeah, and Discworld's like number one.
Yeah, Discworld's number one. This is a close second. So, it's... So yes, if you have not watched the show, go watch the show. Highly recommend it. Everyone who's seen it that I know, that I've talked to, loved it. There's been a few people who are just like, oh, what about this? What about this? But those are like the super elitist, because you always have those people that complain about stuff. They can't just enjoy stuff. But it's so good. Actually, I had a coworker walk up to me, and he's just like, he's an English guy, like older English guy, and he goes, have you ever heard of the One Piece? And I'm like, Andy, let me tell you something.
This is my niche. This is my thing, man.
And he just kind of looks at me, and I go like this whole spill, and he's just like, oh, so you've seen it?
Seen them all.
Like, yeah.
Thank you.
Like I'm like, yes, I am very well versed.
This is my thing.
Yeah, no, it was an entertaining conversation. But that's... Have I watched anything else? Done anything else? Oh, I did. I watched Moulin Rouge.
For the first time or again?
Yeah, for the first time.
Yeah.
Was not a fan. Like I'm all about camp. I love camp, and certain there's I like some musicals. It has to be a certain like I don't know. I'm weird because it's either I love it or hate it when it comes to musicals. This was not one I loved.
Mm,
The music wasn't bad. My issue was is that everyone in the thing is so bloody stupid.
yeah.
Like there's a scene where Ewan McGregor's character literally
Yeah.
hides he's hiding from a guy, and all the thing that's hiding is he puts his face behind part of a tapestry on the wall, and the guy looks right at him, and he's just like, oh no, and keeps talking and doesn't see him.
Yeah.
Like
It's like, what? Like, what the fuck?
it was, yeah, it was not good.
No. No, it's not. No.
Just I'm trying to
Yeah.
think if there's anything else. Of course, catching up on Star Trek stuff, but Star Trek's awesome, so there's that.
It's not my thing, but it's your thing for sure.
Well, you're more fantasy than you are sci-fi, so
Yes, this is true. This is
that's
very
where
true.
as where I enjoy both
Yeah.
in very different ways. But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like I've done other things, but I guess not. The past 2 weeks are just kind of a blur to me.
Dude.
I feel like I'm missing something. Like I should have remembered something, but don't. I watched Chopping Mall. That's a fun movie.
Chopping mall?
Oh, it is an amazing 1980s classic about this mall that they decided to put high-tech robots in to guard, and lightning
Okay.
strikes and causes the robots to go crazy. And these kids are in the mall overnight. They work at I say, yeah, they're kids, kind of. They're like teenagers, but they're partying it up at the mall. Is they work there, so they're just like, we're gonna take it and we're gonna party here because it's the '80s, and I guess teenagers party everywhere, and they get stuck inside the mall with these murderous robots, and so they're trying to fight the robots that are basically indestructible, and uh, it's a ridiculous '80s sci-fi horror
Okay.
with killer robots.
Okay. Okay.
Have you been watching anything?
So I watched the Boy Scouts of America documentary. Don't watch it.
Okay.
Don't watch it.
I mean, I wasn't planning on it. I hate the Boy Scouts.
It is so infuriating to watch.
As someone who was a scout and like knowing what they stand for and the fact that they literally use government funding for a private organization where they push certain theological values even though they
Yes.
don't do it.
Yes.
I freaking hate the Boy Scouts.
Like, the documentary is about the sexual predators that they hid, that the Boy Scouts of America like covered up.
Kind of like the Catholic Church.
Yes. Yes, and they talk about their heavy ties to they're no longer associated with the Mormon community now, because where they lifted the ban on gay Scoutmasters. So when they lifted that ban, the Mormon Church dropped as one of their major sponsors. But they do talk about the heavy involvement of the Catholic Church, the Latter-day Saints Church. But the whole documentary is about how the Boy Scouts of America, for decades, knew of Scoutmasters that were pedophiles, and how they covered up the situation. Because a good couple years ago, when the Boy Scouts of America filed for bankruptcy, all of the victims started coming forth, and it's over like 80,000 men came forward, saying that they were victims of child sexual abuse and stuff like that. So the documentary is like heavy on the documents that got covered up, and the main whistleblower, he's very much like, I am the whistleblower, like I'm the one that did this. Like, it was a cop. They hired a cop as like their like child protector coordinator kind of person. And the cop had worked in child sexual abuse case, like that's what he did as a cop. So he's like, I know what to do, like I know where your loopholes are, and kind of this is where we're kind of got some risks. And they're like, no, it's okay. Like they don't background check people because it's too much money and it's not convenient.
What?
Yeah, I was like, what? Like it's not that hard to run a background check on somebody. You could honestly probably get it for free if you looked in the right places.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, the whole documentary is about the cover up of the pedophiles that were in the Boy Scouts for a very long time. So that was infuriating. Like, it's so frustrating. I'm like, our kids are never being, if the idea of becoming a Boy Scout comes up, nope, honey, no. Unless your dad is the Scoutmaster, because I am not doing this.
Yeah. No, it's
like, no. And even then, it's like, I can teach you all the skills that you need to live out in the world, like wilderness.
yeah. Just go freaking buy the books.
Yeah. Go camping.
And yeah, teach them yourself. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm just like,
Exactly. It's a Christian organization, and
yeah,
it's a boys' club, and it's full of like all sorts of different types of abuse and brainwashing and
yes. So I watched that. I finished Gil's All Fright Diner by Helene Martinez. That was hilarious to listen to.
how so?
Well, so it's very misogynistic, kind
Like,
of.
I'm not sure what the cackle was about, but okay,
But
continue.
just the way he describes stuff, like it's kind of vulgar, but it's right for that book. So you have a big burly vampire or not burly vampire, you have a big burly werewolf, and you have this very tiny, scrawny of a man that's a vampire, and they're kind of friends. And they're driving down the road, and they're almost out of gas, and they pull up on this diner, and next thing you know, they're getting attacked by zombies, and they have to stay, obviously, because they're out of gas and stuff. And just the vampire falls in love with the ghost at a cemetery. So part of the book is getting, because she's the guardian of the cemetery, so breaking her out of the cemetery. But you find out that there's a reason why Gil put the diner in that place. And Gil wanted to open Hell's Gate, basically. And he put the diner where the gates were. So there's a reason why the town has always had supernatural activity, and it's amplified since the diner. But Gil goes missing.
Is this a show or a book?
It's a book.
Okay. It's
It's
like
a book.
oddly similar to several TV shows. Like it's
Like,
like several different TV shows I've seen amalgamated into a book that
yeah. But Gil's spirit gets trapped in a magic 8-ball. By this teenager that he like brainwashes this teenage girl into completing his plans, and she's called Mistress Lilith, which
of course she is.
yeah, and it's a lot of jokes on things. Her boyfriend's super dumb, and it's that typical teenage like I'm smarter than everybody else type thing.
Yeah.
So it is very funny. There's some vulgar descriptives used, especially for the diner's waitress, like describing her double chin, and just she's not very small. So it's just like,
So is it meant to be satire?
I think in a way, I think so. I
Okay.
started listening to it with my brother. We were driving for my bachelorette party, and I quickly figured out that this is not something I can listen to with him in the car. Because
Why is that?
he was just like, "What the fuck is this?" And I'm like, "It's an audiobook. I've listened to another book by this person, and this is like what they're known for is Gil's All Fright Diner." And yeah, he was like, what is this? I'm like, obviously you've never listened to an audiobook before. One. But yeah. So it was funny. It's very funny. But it's a little vulgar if you're not used to that sort of thing. So I don't know if he wrote it as satire for it to be kind of like that. And then I finished I can't remember if I talked about this in the last one, but The Widow of Pale Harbor by Hester Fox. I don't understand how I find like Christian based mysteries. I'm confused on how I find these things. But The Widow of Pale Harbor takes place in like late 1800s. We're during the supernatural Jesus spiritualist movement, and people in this town start dying like Edgar Allan Poe poems. And you find out it's someone in the village who has a vendetta against her because of something her ex-husband said that she was not aware that he said. So it was one of those, it's very predictable moments. So, but that I don't understand, and it's very Christian based. I don't understand how I pick these up.
Because your true calling is Jeebus.
But that's all I've listened to. That's all I've watched. I'm less than 2 weeks away from my wedding. So that's kind of taking all of my time. Trying to get everything. Now it's the logistics of trying to get everything coordinated and everything else.
Yeah, our next episode, we're actually going to be recording in person, so that's going to be interesting.
I know. We have not been in the same room for almost 8 years.
So that'll be a fun time.
I was telling kids at my job about like how we normally see each other every year. I'm telling them about what we do and how nerdy we are, and they're just like looking at me like, what? And I'm like, what? Like, this is what you don't do this with your best friend? Like, you don't go nerd out for a weekend? Like, and they're like, what?
No, most of those people are super lame.
Like, and I'm like, yeah. I go, you've never had to like spray your best friend with fucking hairspray and cover him in glitter? Like,
That was a thing that happened.
they're like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, he went as like a glitter fairy to a rave, and I'm in the bathroom spraying him with fucking hairspray and covering him in glitter. And they're like, what? I'm like, well, yeah. Like, we might live on opposite sides of the planet, but this is how we meet every year. I don't have the luxury of my best friend lives down the street. Like,
You know, the best people live at least 700 miles away.
yeah, for real.
Like it's how it happens.
And they're just like, you're weird. I'm like, I'm aware. Please tell me something
Yep.
I don't know.
Thanks for noticing.
Can you tell me something that's not obvious? Like, I am aware. But yeah, our next episode we're recording in person. Holy shit, it's Batman.
It's gonna be nuts.
It is gonna be nuts. I gotta figure out how we're gonna do this.
I don't know.
We might just take over my dining room table for it. I gotta figure out, because I gotta bring wedding stuff inside, and I got wedding stuff out in my garage. Yeah, we might just take over the table for a couple
Sounds
hours.
good.
Alright,
Well,
I think that's all we have for this one.
Yep, so until next time, I'm Johnny. I wasn't sure how I wanted to end that.
And I'm Kelsey. Bye!
Bye.